been the case yet, Frank, with the medical updates, but any further news or new news in regards to guys like Neil and Omar Leftwich over the weekend since the game Saturday?
Yeah, you're right. There's, little news, further news yet. We'll have more information at the end of the day as some MRIs are taken, and will let us know the extent of it and whether you're talking about a 2 to 4 week to 6 week deal, or whether you're talking about a season-ending injury to both those guys.
You did mention Saturday that you guys might have to make plans to shore up a couple areas in terms of depth. Have you finalized any of those kinds of plans yet?
Well,
on the defensive line specifically.
yeah, and that's an area of concern. We'll look at a couple guys. Hopefully they're healthy in terms of not injuries football-related wise, but just some sickness has been going around. If we can get Purdom and Crutcher going, we'll look at practicing them this week. Both those guys are interior guys. Tony Davis is a guy that we've been getting a little bit of playing time too. He'll probably get more extensive playing time for the next week or so until we see where we're at with all of our injuries.
We didn't really ask you about this guy Saturday, but Lorenzo Fisher guy got a lot of reps in the second half. Again, he's kind of next up in that rotation at cornerback if there's problems with Jamil. I think missed a lot of reps in the second half. Lorenzo's the next guy up in terms of.
Well, I think Fred just kind of goes by feel because he's got 3 or 4 guys there that I think he feels are guys that are capable and Lorenzo has been showing well in practice, and not just as a corner, but I mean everything he does from running down the field as a scout team, kickoff cover guy when we're working on our kickoff return teams. I mean, he's just full speed every single play. And so you notice a guy like that, and you try to give him opportunities, and it made sense to give him opportunities in this past ball game. We still have a guy with some experience in Ryan Clark. He's lined up in there in big games and has done a good job, and so he's still very much in the picture.
How does all those injuries, especially in D line, you mentioned you might have to change up practice a little bit this week. How does that affect practice with so little healthy bodies?
Well, you've got yourself a little bit of a problem in trying to shorten things up practice-wise because you're wanting to give enough reps to those young, inexperienced guys that they know what they're doing, and so we find ourselves in that situation. But we have shortened it a little bit, shortened practice about 10 minutes, which I think will be beneficial to all concerned. And but other than that, we'll continue our preparation as we've been doing. As we get further into our schedule and we have midweek games, there's going to be quite a bit of an adjustment as time goes on.
But normal days, as far as in pads and shorts and stuff like that?
Yeah, we'll have a padded practice today and half pads tomorrow.
We try to you guys do a pretty good job of splitting reps or making sure the backup gets reps. But with Tyler's leg, do you anticipate trying to give Kyle more availability or more reps this week in practice? Yeah,
he'll get more reps, and I think Tyler will be able to go and be ready to go. But we shall see. He won't practice today, so obviously Kyle will get a ton of reps today. But Jerry's done a good job with making sure Kyle has been brought along in case something has happened, did happen, and to Tyler, and so Kyle's had some game experience this year, and he's had a lot of practice experience.
You mentioned Tyler. When he has played, he's been terrific this season. 12 TDs, 1 pick. You got to be impressed with his progression so far. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, he's handled it extremely well, and is off to a great great season so far. That pick came early, first game, and he's taken great care of the ball. He's scrambled and made plays with his legs. He's obviously thrown the ball extremely well and made big plays there for us. And he's a reason why we're having a lot of big and explosive plays right now. He's the kind of the catalyst of most of those big and explosive plays. So he's having a great year. He's letting our offense overcome some things, and at times on third down situations, third and medium, third and long, he's been able to get us some first in those kind of situations, which is critical if you're going to try to put points on the board to be able to do that.
Still in a holding pattern with Dante Harden. You got to let him go this week and see where he stands.
I think he'll be healthy this week. We will take it easy on him in the early part of the week, and once he's over it, he'll be fine. There'll be no concern, and so as the week goes on, we expect he'll get more and more practice.
You mentioned you were kind of frustrated after the win on Saturday. A couple things went wrong on special teams, and some of the drives, it seemed like you get some yards and then about 40 or so kind of stall out. Did you see anything from the film? Have you seen anything yet on what was going on?
Yeah. Well, number one, I think Kent State is a very good defensive football team, and that's been something they've been good at for quite some time now. If you look at their defensive line, they're deep there. They rotate about every 4 or 5 plays. A whole new line comes in, so they're very good up front defensively, and so that has a lot to do with it. And they've got very good aggressive linebackers. Their secondary is aggressive on playing the run, so everything that you earn is tough with these guys. We were able to catch them on some things, and that enabled us to get some movement of the ball and some points on the board. But they had a lot to do with us not just putting a lot of points on the board.
Looking forward to Buffalo, they're a team that's struggled offensively so far this year, even though they've faced pretty tough competition.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think is good for your defense with all the injuries, or is that something you not really look at with all the competition they face?
Well, we're still going to put a very good defense on the field. So the one thing that we've felt good about was that we've had depth going into the season, and obviously we're needing to use some of that depth, and we've recruited very well, and so some of that's playing out right now for us. As far as their offense is concerned, they've been up against 3 really strong football teams, so I don't think you can look at their record and tell anything about them at all. When you look at them on film, they're a team that will line up in 2 back sets as well as 1 back sets, and they like to run the football at you. They're big across the board. If you look at their line, one of the bigger offensive lines that we'll face, their running backs are all big running backs. Their fullbacks, big fullbacks. Their quarterbacks, big quarterbacks. The receivers are 200 pounds. There's very much left. They're a big football team and an aggressive football team. So obviously they got a lot of potential in playing physical football to get a ground game going. And I think their quarterback, I think Chaz is a guy that not only can throw the ball, but also is a very, very capable runner. And we knew about him, recruited him coming out of high school. So he's a guy that can get it done on both ends. So I think they expected to have a very good offensive football team coming in, and I think they still feel that way, that they do have really a good group of guys, and obviously as they get into the MAC, I think they expect it to show.
What's the health status of Jeff King? His a return for someone like him would be big for the defensive line. It's locking stuff.
I would guess 4 to 6 weeks.
So
Yeah. I think he's a little more optimistic. He's wanting to play badly, and in his attempt to come back, it was I don't know if it was rushed, but obviously we didn't give him any extra time, and he didn't want it. You know, he wanted to give it a shot, but you know, I don't see him being able to come back for very quickly.
Talking about Nate Carpenter, had probably one of his best games this Saturday, 10 tackles a pick. He's listed as a safety, but he shows up an outside linebacker every now and then, plays some corner. And what is his position, and how do you, I mean, he's a versatile guy, how do you?
It's more of a nickel back. And when you put the extra back in the game, defensive back in the game, he's it for us. You know, that kind of guy needs to have excellent cover skills, but he needs to be physical and be able to stop the run, because he's sometimes an inside kind of guy lining up on slots and able to blitz him from there, able to help him support on the run from there. You know, he's a really good all-around athlete, and you know, to play right away like he's doing speaks volumes of what he's all about. Great background in terms of his father and his brothers all being players. You know, I know that George had an interception against Louisville, I guess, was a big play. Brother Bobby had an interception against Dallas, and team he was on at one point, and for a touchdown, and they're showing up all over the place, you know, in all leagues and around the country. So it speaks a great deal about the mom and dad, what they're all about. And he's probably the smallest of them, but he's a great athlete. You could line him up as a running back, and he's got as good a hands as you're gonna see on most receivers. So, you know, he's a guy that could play on either side of the ball. And in fact, you know, we were throwing the ball a fair amount coming into the season, and knowing that we were going to have a pretty good passing attack. And you know, I was concerned about the hands of our running backs, and considered having him play some running back for it just because of his hand skills. Now, our running backs have stepped it up. They worked hard this summer. They've done a good job in fall camp, and so that move never took place. But that speaks of his ability and how highly I think of him. You know, he's still learning the position.
Has he been a bit of a surprise, Nathan? I mean, was he a guy that you thought at the beginning of fall camp, this guy's going to be one of our top guys in that nickel package?
I knew he'd play in our system. I just didn't know it'd be quite this soon. But he's so instinctive on the field, you know, and breaks to the ball really, really well. Just one of those football players that finds himself in the right position a lot of time to make plays, and when he's there, he makes them. And so he should have a tremendous career here.
Any other questions?
Just touch on what having a fifth-year quarterback means for Buffalo. You mentioned Chaz, and a guy who's maybe not wowing a lot of people right now with his stat line, but having that kind of poise and experience to draw.
Yeah, and leadership, and he knows the game, and got the ability to hurt you at any time, as I mentioned, either through the air or on the ground. And so I'm sure they're surrounding him very well, and got a lot of confidence in what he's all about. And that was a big get for him, you know. And you see that happening. You know, you look at Wisconsin, and you know, where would they have been quarterback-wise without Wilson coming in? You know, and so you see that happening more and more around the country, and a fifth-year guy that's able to have a year of eligibility left, and maybe they have your major, and so it kind of fits for you and works for you. Yeah, he definitely gives them a great chance to be a complete offense.
Anything else for Coach?
Okay.